Hal Sparks is here. Yes, sir.
And the only way that happens is we win overwhelming Democratic majorities, even in states where you're not going to get everything you want. That's right. Even dealing with the fact that we have to have the mansions and cinemas of the world. I don't vote in West Virginia or Arizona, so I can't do anything about those folks.
Right.
And neither do most of the people complaining about them. But what you can do is overwhelm the vote and undermine the mandate the Republicans think they have in other states.
Depends on the poll, Hal, but just 28% of voters in the poll I'm looking at, political poll, say Roe v. Wade should be overturned. I mean, Republicans are scared, I think. I mean, they obviously it's why they want to talk about the leak, because they're terrified that this is absolutely minority rule.
Watch for a pivot after their primaries are done, because this has always been a primary. This is an activist issue on their side. And getting this done and making it look like they got it done, even the point of the leak, people saying it came from a left-leaning judge or a clerk in there, doesn't make any sense, because the reaction from Democratic voters would be the same whether it came out now or in June. As a matter of fact, it might even have kept Democratic voters more engaged because of when it came out timing-wise a month from now, because it would fade less between now and the election.
Can I just say, I was wondering yesterday if obviously there's more credence being given now to it coming from the conservative side, trying to lock in the conservative votes. But I also wonder if it's, to get the outrage out sooner, or if it's going to be whittled down in some way, so it's almost like relative that, we didn't gut it entirely, so that there's less outrage if it's still
that's what they're going to
an
do.
Evisceration of rights, but not as extreme as this draft. So
and what they'll do is they'll help secure what they're trying to do is secure purple states back red. And the way they can do that is by, in Texas and places like that, where we're demographically going that direction, secure, for example, the Latino vote based on their belief that pro-life Catholics in the Latino community will ultimately side with them, because that one issue trumps all others to them, and give them that edge to keep the state leaning red from purple for another few cycles, so they can screw the vote for everyone. So that's what the summer will be about. The argument that a Republican put this out was to gin up primary turnout, because Donald Trump has turned everyone off of voting. That's their big problem this fall.
Once again,
and it's not going to change. It's
once
not
again,
going to change.
Canada is saying, what's all this about down there? Right. First of all, we all wanted to move there if Trump won. They're like, come on. Canadian officials said Americans will be able to obtain abortions in Canada after Roe gets... Okay. Abortion is legal in Canada at any point in a pregnancy. Americans seeking abortions in Canada would either, though, have to pay for the service out of pocket or with their own private insurance if they aren't covered by one of Canada's provincial health plans. Many people don't have the resources to travel interstate, let alone internationally, to obtain the procedure, but it's nice of them, eh?
Yeah.
That's what that's about.
Well, this is,
Frangela has the rule, if it's in you, it's about your body. I feel like we keep seeding a lot of these points, right? Where we're just like, if it's or if it's blah, 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 or if it's rape or incest, or if it, choice should be choice, period. It's your choice.
I will go even further than that. I don't know how Republicans across the board, especially the libertarian / Alex Jones leaning types, don't understand that if the government can force you to keep a living thing in your body against your will from the very day that it's a split cell, they can obviously put an RFID chip in your neck, because that's less of a hassle, and it's for your own safety. I don't know why we can't chip people now. Congratulations, Republicans. You are responsible for the chipping of America.
I forget. I mean, it's just all the different points this brings up. Someone, I think a woman said, "Hey, government, do I get my body back when I'm past menopause? Then do I get my body back? Is that how this works? I get control of my own body back."
Oh, silly woman. Menopause is not in the Constitution.
No. Absolutely not.
David in Miami, you're on with Hal. Hello, David.
Cherchel FM.
Cherchel FM.
Vive la resistance lives.
Oui. And Hal, greetings, time changer.
Yes.
We're fans of the Paul Rodriguez bad movie. Anyway, so what we need is a million kazoo march around Lafayette Square, preferably playing the Portals theme from Marvel. Hal will explain it to you. Maybe high noon, Father's Day, so that now that fetuses are children, we can demand a basic income for all people, including the fetuses. So now Octomom can get a 6-figure income.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean,
there is
solution.
Okay,
there is that odd thing about not providing a woman with the alternatives that the Republicans seem to always go after. While they're concerned that there's a low inventory of babies for adoption, none of them seem to be shoring up the foster system. The
there's
adoption
400,000 kids in foster care. What's wrong with that supply chain, Amy Coney?
In
case you haven't noticed, they're black.
No,
is that what she means?
No prenatal care to make sure the kids are, the fetus is healthy up to the point it's actually viable to lower the number of medically necessary abortions that come out. No interest in that from Republicans at all. If in one instance where you're talking about, and it's partly because they actually, I think they electioneer on what the former governor of Georgia had talked about, which is a situation where the baby is fused to the uterus of the woman and is not going to be viable outside the womb.
This is just a death sentence.
Tear her to pieces.
It's just death sentence for women. It's just if the fetus is going to die, they just want to make sure the woman dies too. I mean, it's insane.
It's like they not only are they upset we fought the Revolutionary War against King George, they all secretly want to be him, in that if you can't produce me man-child, then you don't deserve to live off with your head.
Yeah.
It's gross. It's grotesque. And I don't understand it. Neither do, by the way, the majority of Americans.
Right.
This is minority rule.
They're the most
of the worst kind.
This is the least pro-life. Not going to stop abortion. They know they're not going to stop abortion. They're not going to stop abortion. They're just going to kill more women. We talked about pills. That's the big difference since Roe v. Wade passed. Just reading this one story in HuffPo, it took 2 trips over state lines, navigating icy roads, a patchwork of state laws for 32-year-old South Dakota woman to get abortion pills last year. It allowed her to end an unexpected and high-risk pregnancy and remain devoted to her 2 children. It's the other thing people keep bringing up. The majority of women that have abortions already have children. There's all these myths out there. That women regret it later. They did polling. Huge majority of women absolutely stand by their decision. And it's
a good portion of these abortions happen medically so that a woman can have children later.
Right.
That the baby is either not viable or they are not physically or financially able to handle that child, which would make them unable to have more children in their future.
Right. Anti-abortion activists and politicians say those cross-border trips, remote doctor consultations, and pill deliveries are what they're going to try to stop next.
Oh yeah, they already are. Right. That's what the Kentucky law was about.
Use of abortion pills, by the way, has been rising since 2000. More than half of U.S. abortions are now done with pills. So, of course, they're coming for those next. The FDA last year lifted a long-standing requirement that women pick up abortion pills in person. Mail delivery is also now allowed nationwide. So that's what they're coming for next, Hal. South Dakota is among several states, including Texas, Kentucky, your state, Arkansas, Ohio,
They are going to have a bit
Tennessee,
of a problem. They're going to have a bit of an issue, the Republicans.
And Oklahoma, where Republicans have moved to restrict access to abortion pills in recent months. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, she's such an Aunt Lydia.
Remember when you used to have the hots for her?
I didn't know who she was. Okay, she said additional in-person visits for the pills and a ban on them being sent through the mail are needed to protect women. Really? Really? I mean, how do they get women to do this, first of all, Hal?
Because a significant number of the pro-life movement's foot soldiers and their true believers are women, for a lot of reasons. That said, the Kentucky rule, which is what she's also going to try to push, will flat out die. It's never going to actually make it. It's because of the Commerce Clause, which is something Republicans are for.
Right.
And so the idea that you cannot purchase services across a state line that is available to other states, there's such a slippery slope there that anybody could start passing law. I mean, get ready for the gun laws too. Like every gun made in California, sold in California, has to be chipped.
But this is like what there's nothing too crazy to prove that you can send them through the mail. So So anyway, besides crossing state lines, women can also turn to internationally based online pharmacies.
Right. And
also
That's
having
concerning.
prescribed pills forwarded through states without restrictions. One law professor said it allows for someone to have an abortion without a direct role of a provider. It's going to be much harder for states to control abortion access. The question is, how is it going to be enforced? This is a new frontier, and states are grappling with enforcement mechanisms. The advice I always give is, if you shut the front door, the pills are going to come in the back door. Again, it's just a whole.
They don't actually work if you do it that way.
That's not okay.
Hey,
she suggested the next target for state enforcement should be the pharmacies, organizations, and clinics that provide the abortion pills. She also said abortion rights opponents should focus on electing a presidential candidate who would work to reverse the FDA's decision. This is the right-wing whack I'm quoting here. They're already figuring out ways.
It's going to be the litmus test in 2024.
Right.
That will be the Republican litmus test. And Trump, you got to remember, when Trump ran, I forget who, it wasn't Lester Holt, somebody was interviewing him and said, so there was it Chris Matthews? There must be a punishment
for the women. Yes.
And he's like, yeah, I guess you'd have to.
Right.
He was just saying the quiet part loud. That was always part of the plan.
Well, this is what in this last line in this story, many anti-abortion legislators might realize the only way to enforce these laws is to prosecute the pregnant person themselves.
Right.
I mean, and that's what I said. How when they tell you something, believe them. Donald Trump said, yes, there needs to be punishment for the woman. And everyone's like, oh, it's just Donald Trump. Right.
Right. He's just talking off the cuff and yada. No, he isn't. He had some element to recognize the logic in the illogic of his previous support and his post support and his own, there's no way that dude hasn't paid for an abortion or two in his life.
Yes,
I don't buy it.
By the way, he's been eerily quiet about this because he knows the polling on this. He hasn't said anything about this.
Nothing.
You'd think he'd be taking his victory lap and, look what I did.
Oh, they're screaming about the leak. They're not screaming about content.
That's right.
But Trump's not taking credit for once for, look what I did. I got these Roe v. Wade judges on like I said I would. And,